My name is Laura Kalba. I'm a professor in the Department of Art at Smith College, and my specialty is 19th century modern, in other words, visual culture. I'm particularly interested in the history of print, how print technologies have shaped different ways of seeing through the ages. This is my class Moodle. It is a good home base where to put information. Everything from the standard syllabus and readings to my updated office hours. And this is where, for instance, class journal appears. And I have the handout with a rubric that I've created, which allows students to understand what I'm looking for in terms of self-reflection. And here are their answers. I'm really interested in hearing what they have to say about the course at the end, in the month of May. In a perfect world, I'd also like to hear from them 2 years from now and see what has stuck, how it's stuck. The technology that funding for this course allowed me to most take advantage of is vans and minivans that funded our trips to the American Antiquarian Society. I really don't think there is a substitute for that. In the classroom, which I selected because there were computers available, it's also the class that has the most whiteboards. Yes, students would spend time on the computer, but they could also quickly brainstorm and summarize and present their ideas on the whiteboard in a way that's not possible in the other classrooms in this building. The Explain Everything app was, I think, fairly user-friendly and a good way to achieve my goal, which is to have students kind of illustrate, unpack their methods of visual analysis. The technology achieved exactly what I wanted it to achieve, and students then became more highly aware of the difference between what they might be able to produce in a couple of weeks in a classroom and what might look like a professional video. This video in particular, created by Christina Bush, a student from Mount Holyoke, I think was particularly successful. She explained that the skills that she most heavily drew upon were those that she learned as an interpreter in a museum. Simple things like learning how to highlight what is most important and perhaps most obvious to people when they first see a particular artwork. The second technology that I'm foregrounding in the class is Omeka, and Omeka is kind of open source platform for creating online exhibitions and also cataloging. It is developed by the Center for History and New Media based at George Mason University. I'm really excited about seeing what that can bring to the class. I was able to discuss with them the methods of art history in ways I hadn't been before. And furthermore, they understood this goal of the assignment. They actually agreed that this was an effective way of illustrating and unpacking their thought process. These videos, students reported wanting to share them with their family, and it being one of the first instances of them, truly feeling that they had something that they could talk about with their parents. Some students have the experience of not being able to explain to their parents or their siblings what exactly they're doing in the classroom. Especially for first-generation students, it can be a pretty divisive experience. Producing content that they knew would have a broader audience than just me or their fellow classmates. The students did, I think, take ownership of their learning more, and also were able to kind of more clearly articulate what, for themselves, what was important in what they were learning. That was a really unexpected and rewarding aspect of the course. Elements of the course which I hadn't necessarily prioritized became more important, and certain things that I thought were going to be important, either because of practical circumstances or because of, my pedagogical aims shifting, ended up being a little bit less important. I had to kind of set that aside in order to foreground students' production of content that could, in a further reiteration of the course, serve as a way of presenting content online to then make room in the classroom for workshops, for instance, or for group assignments in a kind of more, I guess, flipped classroom sort of way. Learning to accept failure. Certain things don't work. Deadlines and scheduling matter in a way that they don't necessarily tend to matter in traditional and paper-based courses. And that was something challenging, not only on my end, but the students also had to understand why sticking to deadlines and why reading instructions mattered in a more important way. Another course on ephemera, where I might, or the history of printing, where I might be able to incorporate units that have been developed for this course. The videos, I think, would be really effective in another class. Generally speaking, students always, from my experience, really appreciate seeing what other students have been able to accomplish. And definitely the kind of online exhibition, the Valentine exhibition that we're creating and that will be hosted on the servers of the American Antiquarian Society and accessible through their website. There's no doubt that I'm going to use that as a way of delivering information. Know yourself as an instructor, know your students, and build off what you have found limiting, frustrating with more traditional courses. I think I would advise faculty to only embark upon the project once they have a couple of years of teaching under their belts. Not to discourage assistant professors, young assistant professors from trying this out, is that what was important to me and was kind of has guided me through this experience is establishing very clear learning goals. That has come, gradually after several years of teaching. Lastly, and this is my assessment of the situation towards the end of March, is that realizing that one semester is not enough. I started preparing the course at the end of August. I had put a couple of, components of the course in place, and yet still, honestly, to my own surprise, I still wasn't able to accomplish everything that I wanted to. Realizing that this is perhaps a multi-semester, perhaps multi-year project